everyone, it's Hunter and welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, it is so nice to meet you. In today's video, I'm going to be doing my November book wrap up. I post a video like this at the beginning of every single month so that you guys can see what I've been reading. My original goal for the year was to read 120 books, and as of this moment, I'm at 192. So I did increase my goal to 200, and I definitely think I'm gonna reach that in December, and I'm excited because that's the most I've ever read in 1 year before. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and share with you what I read in November. Before we get started, I would love it if you guys would subscribe to my channel down below if you have not already. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and get started. The first book that I read in November is Mixed Signals by B.K. Borison. Move over so there's more room for the picture. Is Mixed Signals by B.K. Borison, and this is the third installment of the Love Light Farms series. I thought it was going to be the final one, but I saw something on Facebook the other day about there being a fourth book, so that makes me really excited. I read the first and second books and absolutely loved them. They were In the Weeds and Love Light Farms, and so I was really excited to read this one. It is about, I think their names are Layla and Caleb. I am really horrible about remembering characters' names for some reason, so let me just open it up on Goodreads so I can make sure. Yes, it's about Layla and Caleb. So Layla is a baker. She runs the bakery at Love Light Farms, which is a Christmas tree farm, and there is a guy who comes in pretty much 3 times a week, gets a butter croissant and nothing else, and leaves, and he does that as an excuse to see Layla. He has had a crush on her for a while, and one day she kind of sees him in a different light, so they both have secret crushes on each other, but she is kind of hopelessly bad at dating, and so is he apparently. So they agree to fake date for a month so that they can critique each other on their dating, on the dates that they go on just their interactions, their conversation, and things like that to kind of help each other get better at dating. So they fake date as a means of like tutoring each other in dating, if that makes sense, and they're just completely honest with each other. And obviously we know that fake dating leads to so much more than just friends, and so I thought it was really cute. I gave it 5 stars. So far every one of these books has been 5 stars for me. This one does have a tiny bit of spice, but I would not call it a spicy book by any means. It's still so cute, and I love that I get to see kind of the progression of the relationships in the previous books as well. I know this is a common theme among book series like this, but it's one of my favorite parts, just kind of getting to know the other characters even more and just, I don't know, getting to spend more time with them. So I gave this one a 5 stars. The next book, I actually have a physical copy of this, and I read the physical copy until I was about halfway through, and then I downloaded it from the library on my Kindle, because I'm gonna be really honest, I have a hard time reading hardback books, and this one is hardback. I wanted the paperback, but they didn't have it in stock when I bought this, so that's why it's the hardcover. But it is House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. We have these girls. Their names are Iris, Gray, and Vivi. And when Iris, she's the youngest, so when they were children, they disappeared in a city in Scotland, I think in Edinburgh. They disappeared for about a month, and then they just mysteriously reappeared with completely white hair and black eyes, and before they had blue eyes and brown hair. And this is a wild ride. Honestly, it was not what I was expecting. I don't know how to describe. I did give it 5 stars because I really enjoyed it. It is YA, and I feel like if it wasn't YA, it probably would have been a bit too gory for me. There was a plot twist at the end of this that I was fully not expecting, which probably makes it the best. It says, darkly seductive, twisty, modern-day fairy tale by critically acclaimed author, gripping and terrifying journey. Readers will not be able to look away. Basically, Gray goes missing, and they are trying to figure out where she is, and just the whole thing is a wild ride, and I don't want to tell you too much because I don't want to give away the whole concept. However, I wasn't expecting it to be like a fairy tale type, but whenever I read the word fairy tale in the description, I definitely agree that it fits that vibe. Just like a dark fairy tale, which is, again, not what I would normally pick up, but the cover was just beautiful, and I was too intrigued by the cover. And also, Iris Hollow and her 2 older sisters are unquestionably strange. They disappeared, and a month later, they returned with no memory of what happened to them. So that's kind of, that just like drew me in, and I had to read it, and I gave it 5 stars. The next book that I read is called The Tenant by, let me see what her name is, Trine Enberg. I'm not really sure what I was expecting. I halfway listened to this on audiobook and halfway read it on my Kindle, so I kind of went back and forth, and the accent in it takes place in Sweden, I think, because I believe it was like translated. Yeah, it says international bestselling. I believe it's originally written in another language. Copenhagen, is that in Sweden? I think so. So I did not know how to pronounce any of the any of the characters' names, but it starts with a young woman being brutally murdered in her apartment, and the Copenhagen Copenhagen police are trying to figure out what happened, how this happened, and it's called The Tenant because this one woman owns the building and she rents out other parts of the building to people, and so you kind of hear the perspective of her, the landlord, I guess, and also of other people that live in the building to kind of get perspective on what's going on. I did give it 4 stars because there were parts of it that were a tad confusing to me, but that's okay. I originally downloaded it when it was a Kindle deal of the day for like $1.99, so you can't win them all, but this definitely looked interesting to me. But they are all just trying to piece everything together to figure out who the murderer is. They have a suspect and then the suspect gets killed. It's a whole wild ride. I do recommend. It just wasn't my absolute favorite, which is why I gave it 4 stars. Next is Birds of California by Katie Cotugno. Okay, basically we have this show called Birds of California that was wildly popular back in the day, and when the studio wants to reboot the show, they are trying to get the original cast on board. The guy, what is his name? I can never remember their names. Yeah. Okay, so Sam is totally on board and Fiona is not totally on board. So Fiona, basically Sam is trying to get Fiona to get on board with this idea. So he spends a lot of time with her, and his original intention is to talk her into joining the show, but eventually they kind of fall for each other, and this is like a Hollywood child star, kind of grows up to be just a normal person, and she does not want to be thrust into the limelight again, but she is just trying to figure everything out. And I was not expecting this to be a romance. I don't know why, but the cover just to me does not scream romance. It screams just like literary novel. I don't know, for some reason I just wasn't expecting it to be a romance, despite the fact that I read the description, so I should have known. But I just thought it was really good, and I listened to this on audiobook, and 5 out of 5 for me. The next book I read was even more of a wild ride than anything else that I've read. It is Cop Town by Karen Slaughter. If you guys don't know, I'm a huge Karen Slaughter fan. Her books are, can't believe I'm a huge fan because her books tend to be incredibly graphic in their descriptions. So if you are new to thriller, I would not recommend reading them, but I really love all of her books. I downloaded this one as a Kindle deal of the day as well for $1.99, and I was very impressed with this book. It is almost 500 pages, so I normally do not fly through her books just because they're typically quite long, but I think I flew through this one. And it takes place in 1974 in Atlanta, so in the deep racist South in the 70s, so there's also lots of fear surrounding different lifestyles, if you get what I'm saying. And because of that, there's this huge amount of uproar, I guess. At the beginning of the book, we have one of the police officers, him and his partner are victims to this cop killer, but one of them does not get shot, only the other one does, and everyone on the police force is ready to just go knocking on doors and killing everyone that they think could possibly be this cop killer. And the police officer who, Johnny, I think that's his name. Let me look. I can never remember their names, goodness gracious. Okay, the description literally doesn't say his name. I think his name is Johnny, not Jimmy. It's Jimmy. It's Jimmy. It's Jimmy. His name is Jimmy. So Jimmy's partner dies, and obviously he's devastated because he's his partner. He's supposed to protect his partner. He's supposed to protect the city. Obviously that did not happen. And then we have his sister, who is his sister is Maggie, and Maggie gets a new partner who is Kate. And Maggie and Kate decide that even though they're not detectives and they're women on the force who it's very frowned upon, they are gonna try to figure out who this cop killer is. They are investigating things on their own. They get themselves into trouble. Kate is being stalked. It's a whole thing, and honestly, it was so good. I was not expecting anything at the end of this book, but overall, I thought it was really good, and 5 stars for me. Karen Slaughter always gets 5 stars for me, so next book. The next book I read was Did I Say You Could Go by Melanie Gideon, and I gave this one 5 stars. Again, I can never for the life of me remember the names. So in this book there are 2 moms, Ruth and Gemma. There are 2 single moms. One, her husband, she's a widow, so her husband died when her child was really young, and the other one is divorced. So Ruth and Gemma kind of become friends because of their similar life situations, being single mothers, and their daughters Marley and B, they also become best friends. And then there is a scandal surrounding Gemma's business, and Ruth decides that she's going to distance herself from Gemma. And then there's a whole other scandal that happens with the daughters The daughters still want to be friends, but it's just like a whole weird situation. Lots of family dynamic drama, but overall I really liked this book. I listened to it on audiobook. The title was very intriguing to me. Did I Say You Could Go? That screamed controlling mother or what? So I wasn't expecting it to go where it did. I knew it was a thriller of some sort, so I knew something was gonna happen, but I didn't know what to expect. But I overall thought this was a really good book and I recommend. 5 out of 5 for me. The next book hasn't come out yet. It is, oh, it's not gonna be published until April of 2023. Okay, this was on NetGalley and I love this author, so of course I had to download it as soon as I got approved to read it. But it's called The Soulmate by Sally Hepworth, and after reading the book I realized the cover is absolutely perfect. So this book also was a wild ride. It takes place in Australia, in Melbourne. Sorry, I just messed up. And so Gabe and Pippa decide that they want to kind of start over with their life, so they move to this place called The Spot on a coastal town in Australia, and it's known as The Spot because it is a cliff. You know what happens at cliffs. People like to go to cliffs. Anyway, Gabe is an awesome guy, and at the beginning of the book he starts talking about, not he, but his wife starts talking about how he has saved a lot of people from jumping off of this cliff. He goes outside, he kind of talks them down and is able to reason with them to kind of keep them from losing everything. And one day there is a woman that is standing there and he is not able to save her, and it kind of haunts him a little bit. So they obviously call the police, and obviously the police are involved. They are doing an investigation. Originally it's just ruled as losing your life by self-infliction. But because of the husband, the husband of the woman who jumped is kind of confused. The story goes back and forth between Pippa, who is Gabe's wife, and what is her name? Goodness gracious, I can never remember the name of it doesn't say. There is a connection to the person who jumped, and they are kind of, it's very suspicious. They're trying to figure out what's going on. And at the end of the book, very end of the book, you figure out why the book is called The Soulmate, because it doesn't make any sense until you get to the end of the book. But truly, my heart went out to this woman who ended her life, and I just like genuinely loved this book. I love Sally Hepworth and I feel like she does an incredible job on everything. I've read The Mother-in-Law, I've read the sister, it's not The Sister-in-Law, I don't remember what the other one is called, but I've read a couple of books by her and just genuinely really enjoyed them. So I can't wait for you guys to get your hands on this book. I still have to leave a review on NetGalley, so I'm glad that I am filming this video because that reminded me that I needed to do that. But I thought it was excellent. The last line of the description on Goodreads says, "It is a twisty domestic suspense novel that proves that nothing and no one is ever as it seems." And that is a very accurate description. Next is The Christmas Pact by Meg Easton. This one came out last year. It is on Kindle Unlimited, and I thought this one was adorable. We have Noelle. Of course her name is Noelle because it's Christmas time, and of course every Christmas book has a character named Noelle. Noelle and Jack decide to partner together. Jack is Noelle's boss, and Jack's sister has cancer and wants Jack to help her son have a really great Christmas, but he's kind of a Grinch, and Noelle of course is not really feeling the holiday season after she lost her grandmother, but she agrees because she needs money to help Jack, help the nephew of Jack have a great Christmas. So because of that, they kind of spend a lot of time together, they get to know each other, and they realize that they have been harboring feelings for each other for all this time, but he's very conflicted because he is her boss and it's a whole situation. But overall, this was incredibly cute. It's a very clean romance, which is my favorite kind of romance because I just think they're the sweetest. So big fan, 5 stars for me. Next is The Santa Suit by Mary Kay Andrews. Again, I can never remember their names. Apparently this is a novella. I did not realize that. How many pages is it? It's 224 pages. That's not a novella, that's a novel. Not a long one, but still a novel. Anyway, it's about Ivy, who has relocated to the mountains of North Carolina to live on a broken down farm that needs to be updated. And her realtor is kind of a one-stop shop realtor, handyman, all this other fun stuff. And they are spending lots of time together. When she is cleaning out the house, just going through everything that was left in this house, she finds a custom Santa suit, and she finds a note in the pocket of the Santa suit of a little girl asking Santa for her dad to come home to her. This note was written in the time of Vietnam, the Vietnam War. So her dad was in Vietnam, so she was wishing for her dad to come home. And this story was so fun. I really love when like other pieces of the story come together. Basically, she spends the whole book trying to figure out who wrote this note and kind of trying to figure out what happened to the dad in this note. She doesn't know why she's so invested, but when she finally figures everything out, she's very glad that she continued to pursue the story. And I thought it was incredibly cute and perfect for like the spirit of Christmas. 5 stars for me. Next is one that came out this year, and it's called Home Sweet Christmas by Susan Mallory. And I'm upset because I figured out there's a first book in this series, but it's okay. This is about 2 different couples, which I thought was really fun. I listened to this on an audiobook. We have Cameron and her friend, what is her name? Cameron and River. Cameron is at home in her hometown taking care of her twin sisters after her mom died of cancer the previous year. And she overhears this mom talking about, or she is getting interviewed by this mom. She is being interviewed by Jake's mom for Project Jake's Bride. And she's like, absolutely not. Jake is like, absolutely not. And in an attempt to ward her off of this project, Jake and Cameron end up spending a lot of time together. You know what happens there. But they are reluctant to be in a relationship because she wants to go back to her old life after her sisters graduate college or graduate high school and go off to college. And then River is very shy. She's kind of a transplant to the city. She hasn't lived there for very long. And she meets Dylan, who is actually Jake's best friend. And they become this king and queen of Christmas in their town, who are kind of like the hosts of all the Christmas activities that happen throughout the Christmas season. So Christmas tree lighting, Christmas scavenger hunt, cookie judging contest, and things like that. And they're spending lots of time together. They talk to each other. Again, we know what happens when people spend lots of time together. I just overall thought this was incredibly cute, and I liked that there were 2 stories, but they were woven together very well, because Jake and what's his name? Dylan, that's his name. Jake and Dylan Jake and Dylan are childhood best friends, and River and Cameron are best friends, so I really like how those stories are interconnected, and I gave that one 5 stars. Next is one I actually have a physical copy of. Fun story about this one, I downloaded it from the library thinking that looks like a really cute book. I recognize that author. It is the literal book that I have here. I got this from a thrift store for $1, so I'm not mad that I read it on my Kindle, but it's called Finding Christmas by Karen Shaler, and I did give this one 4 stars because it was just so flipping cheesy. It was so flipping cheesy, I could not picture. Oh, this book is written by the author of, or the writer of, the movie A Christmas Prince, and also of the Hallmark movie Christmas Camp, which means that just picture a Hallmark movie and also that movie, put those together, super cheesy. The only reason why I was annoyed by the cheesiness is because there were times when lots of things were just repeated over and over again, and I was like, this is redundant. That was the only reason why. But it's about, what is her name? Emmy. She is obsessed with Christmas. Everyone calls her Miss Christmas, and she decides that she wants to spend an incredible holiday season with her boyfriend. So she sets up a scavenger hunt with, for him to come meet her at this place called Christmas Point, and she's so excited. And then he's a workaholic. He doesn't understand her love for Christmas, but he agrees that he will try to the Christmas spirit for her. And instead of Grant showing up at Christmas Point, someone else shows up. His name is Sam, and he also loves Christmas. There was a mix-up, and he got the scavenger hunt. It's a whole mess. Grant keeps getting delayed. Grant's a jerk, if I'm being honest. He keeps getting delayed, and she's really disappointed, but Sam joins her in most of the Christmas activities, and you see where this is going. You know where this is going. I gave it 4 stars again because of that little aspect of like redundancy. However, I thought it was still a really cute book, and I feel like I read it pretty quickly. We're almost there, I promise. The next one that I read was actually a novella, and this one was truly a novella. It was only 131 pages, and it came out on November 1st. I was intrigued by the cover. It's called The Mistletoebet by Maren Moore, and I'm not kidding you. I gave this one 4 stars because it was a lot spicier than I was expecting it to be, and for the short amount of story, there was a lot of spice. I probably won't read anything else by this author simply because it was so spicy. My friend Kayla is really into spicy books, so she will love this and she will love all the other characters. But for me, it was a little too much. But I can forgive it because it was so short, so there were only like 2 really spicy scenes. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. We have, I don't know the main character's name. The girl, she is home for Christmas for the first time in years, and she runs into her brother's best friend and her childhood / teenager crush, Parker. And Parker is wanting to know why she's being such such a Scrooge about Christmas. So he bets that he can help her fall in love with Christmas before it is Christmas time. And if she wins the bet, then he has to perform in this Christmas play that her mom has decided that she's gonna put on. So he has to dress up as an elf and all this fun stuff. So that's the bet she gets out of doing that, and he has to do it instead. And if he wins, then she still has to perform in the play, and he just gets the pleasure of knowing that she loves Christmas. Well, they spend lots of time together. This is the theme of Christmas books, is forced proximity. What can I say? When two people who are attracted to each other spend lots of time together, there is no denying the chemistry that's gonna happen here. Two more, I promise. This next one is actually not a Christmas book. It's called The Second Wife by Miranda Ridgix. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that. I listened to this on audiobook. So there is Robin, who is married to Tamsin. You don't know which one is which, do you? Robin is the husband, Tamsin is the wife. Tamsin is the much younger second wife. And Robin falls down the stairs and dies in the book, and they find out that he left his inheritance to this girl who was a housekeeper at their house. And it's a whole story trying to figure out what happened, because they don't really believe that he fell. They believe he was pushed, but they're trying to figure out like who did it and what the motive would be, and also trying to figure out what Robin's motive was for giving the inheritance to someone who was not even related to them. So good book. I really liked it. I gave it 5 stars. So that was a short description, but I feel like it describes it perfectly. And the last book that I read is called Christmas at the Ranch by Anita Hughes. I read a book by her last year called A Magical New York Christmas, and I really enjoyed it, so I wanted to read her newest Christmas book. She has lots of books that are like Christmas at or Christmas in different places, so I really liked this one a lot. There is this woman who is a best-selling author. However, she is an author of these like action books, and basically imagine like Indiana Jones and like James Bond, but as a woman. We have this woman, and that's the character, and the marketing team of her publisher has decided to market the author as just like the character that she writes, but actually she's like reclusive and she's a homebody. She doesn't really go anywhere. The idea of a perfect night for her is spending time with her dog at home on her couch with her laptop. Honestly, sounds like a dream to me. But anyway, her publisher invites her, the CEO of her publisher decides to invite her to his Christmas party. He has it every year, but he only invites one author to the party every year. So the fact that she was invited is a really big deal. She thinks that she is going to his home in Connecticut, but actually she is taken to the airport where she is terrified of flying to his ranch in Wyoming, and she meets the CEO's son, and as she of course spends more time with him, she realizes that she's in love with him. Of course she is, because that's how this works. That's how these books work. But he is engaged, and his fiance decides they're gonna get married on New Year's Eve at the last minute. Yeah, that's right, at the last minute. Of course, that's what happens. So it's a race against time, trying to get him to see that his fiance is not right for him. But it happens at Christmas time, so it's super cute, and there's a whole little mystery aspect to it as well. So I was a big fan. I gave this one 5 stars. I listened to it on audiobook, and I thought it was really cute. So that is the last book that I read. At the end of this month, instead of doing a December recap, I'm going to do a 2022 recap, and I'm just gonna name all of the books I read this year, and it's gonna be a fun time doing that. So with that being said, that is all I have for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to my channel down below, and also give this video a thumbs up. I post book videos as often as I can, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!